Hey friends, welcome back to another episode Going Nuclear with Osama. I'm here joined with a very special guest. His name is Shadi Dahrouj. He's a fourth year nuclear engineering student that's studying at Ontariotech University. And he is quite an exceptional student that has a lot of industry experiences, but also a lot of extracurricular experiences.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Osama, for having me today. So again, my name is Shadi Dahrouj. I'm a fourth year student at the University of Ontario Institute of Technology, or Ontariotech University as it's known right now, in the nuclear engineering program. I'm currently working as a project management intern at a nuclear consulting business as an intern for a year.
Is it worth doing nuclear engineering in the year 2023? We know that the nuclear energy industry has its ups and downs, and sometimes those ups and downs are localized, right? So it might be just one location, but studying the nuclear engineering, a very niche specialization, is it still worth it in 2023?
Excellent question. Let's do a little bit of background about that question now. For Ontariotech University, it offers it's actually the only post-secondary institution in Canada that offers an accredited program in nuclear engineering. And it's also ranked the third university in North America in terms of nuclear engineering degrees for undergraduate students. So absolutely, it is very kind of, as mentioned, it's a niche program. Absolutely, I highly recommend students to join that program and study, because at the university, at Ontario Tech University, the nuclear engineering program is pretty much a nuclear power plant operation engineering, correct? So it offers also, on top of that, it offers a kind of broad scope of different energy related topics. So whenever you get into the nuclear engineering program, there's definitely a demand right now in Canada for nuclear engineers. So absolutely, I would highly recommend entering a nuclear engineering program.
Nice. And was this the case when you first enrolled in the program? Was the situation similar, or has it improved?
At the moment, it's way better than the past. When I started university in 2018, it was a little bit different. Not a lot of people, such as yourself, were there to advocate for nuclear on, let's say, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. Right? So the word was not there. Not a lot of people heard of nuclear, or students in particular. For me, I kind of had an interest in it after reading a book, which kind of caught my attention, and doing a little bit of research about the field and about the program in general, which is why I enrolled. So right now, I would say it's way better than the past in terms of having a lot of people reaching out to different students, university, schools, advocating for nuclear energy and the benefits of it to the society.
Definitely, and especially trends here in Canada with Ontario, with having around 60% nuclear energy. You got small modular reactors that are being deployed. We have also refurbishment campaigns that may not have existed in the past back on the table, right? So there's also mega projects which are going to need new students to graduate and take on those jobs, right? So Shadi, tell me about the courses that you take in this program. If someone was interested in this program, how would you describe it in a nutshell?
The courses that Ontario Tech offers in the nuclear engineering program, they are unique. So, for example, most of the courses that we do take, they are related to nuclear plant operation engineering. We do have radiation protection, nuclear plant design, nuclear reactor kinetics, nuclear reactor design, radioactive waste management, risk analysis method, nuclear fuel cycles. So these are some of the courses that do focus on nuclear engineering in particular, or focus on the energy related fields in regards to power generation. In terms of these courses, most of them do have labs, so you can kind of get the hands-on experience, which is very essential if you are a nuclear worker or someone who's actually getting into the nuclear field. You do need to have that theoretical knowledge and the experimentation and hands-on experience as well. So all of these courses also, they are taught by very experienced professionals and professors. Most of them have actually worked in the field, which is great because you do get that theoretical input from them, as well as their experience from actually working outside in the field, which is pretty amazing.
You know, when you hear the words nuclear reactor kinetics, or you hear some advanced nuclear physics, what are those courses like, and what do you need to be good at to do those courses? Do you need a really good acumen in physics, chemistry, mathematics? So could you give us a little bit of a flavor as to some of those nuclear specialized courses?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say, for example, nuclear physics or nuclear reactor kinetics. These courses are physics and mathematics based. So you definitely need to be very good in math and physics. Otherwise, the course would be very difficult. And in its essence as well, these courses are very difficult to understand. You need to actually do some reading on the side, ask your friends, ask your professors, do your own research on the internet to actually kind of take the main message of what you're being taught, because these are not very easy courses at all, right? So in order to kind of, I would say, pass and excel in these courses, you need to know, have a decent knowledge and skills also in problem solving, math and physics. For chemistry, for example, you do have other courses that are directly related to chemistry, such as corrosion for engineers or strength of materials, for example. These courses do have or do require you have a certain background in chemistry.
Can you get help from ChatGPT? Do you think ChatGPT may be a resource to help students in that undergraduate program, or is it the fact that there's not as much information out there on the web for these courses?
No, excellent question. Yeah, for these courses, well, ChatGPT, it would definitely be helpful. I'm a person who actually loves to utilize any sort of technology around them for, to study, to do research, take notes, etc. So definitely it would be useful. There are certain, I would say, courses that you won't find quite a lot of information about them on the web. You might actually have to go to articles, to textbooks, or even ask an experienced person, a professional professor, etc., to help you with the material that you're taking. But mainly, I would definitely suggest for all students to utilize any sort of technology around them to benefit them while they're doing their undergraduate studies. Yep.
It's great that I'm also a firm believer that students should be utilizing their resources effectively and ethically, by the way. But when it comes to, let's talk about internships, because I know internships and co-ops, I'm a huge advocate on social media about students should go out and get these internships, get these co-ops, get their foot in early. How difficult is it from your perspective to go out into the field and get these internships? And from my perspective, graduated several years ago. What's the experience now for undergraduate students? Is it very challenging? Is it very competitive? Or are things looking a little bit easier?
Okay, good question. Now, if you asked me this question maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said on a scale of 1 to 10, I would definitely pick 8 in terms of difficulty. It was very challenging and difficult to get an internship or a co-op. And my reasoning is because of the mindset. So the explanation for that is that you need to have the right mindset in order to get the internship or co-op that you actually want to. And that starts with actually putting in the work. So you need to reach out to hiring managers. You need to reach out to people that work in certain companies. Let's say you are interested in working with company A. So you need to actually start forming relations and try to find networking opportunities, LinkedIn, for example, or social media in general. Reach out to the people that work at that company, whether they're interns, graduates, or even hiring managers. Reach out to them, ask them about the process, what it takes to actually get into their company. So that's number one. Number two, I didn't utilize the academic advising that we had at school. So that's one thing also that was on my end in terms of mindset. So for everybody that is looking for their internship and they need any help, always reach out to the academic advising. Take care take advantage of the career fairs that happen at your school. That's also one important thing. The services that they offer for students in terms of their resume or cover letter, also you need to take advantage of these. Visit them, have a cover letter and a resume ready. If you don't, just visit them. They will also help you with that.
Let's dive into that mindset element. What set apart your mindset from being a successful student that ended up landing a really good internship as opposed to those that were not successful?
No, excellent question. Well, aside from the GPA, of course, because you do need a good GPA, you need to be in good standing at school.
Yeah? How good GPA?
So at least for the nuclear engineering program, right now you need to have a 2.3 out of 4.3 in order to qualify for an internship or placement. So that's number one. You need to have that. And then in terms of the mindset, you just need to have in your mind that you will get into something. You will achieve whatever you want. That starts with actually writing goals. There's a study done by a professor, and that professor mentioned that I think it was done on 276 participants in California, in a university in California, and it mentions that if you write down your goals, you're most likely, 40% most likely to achieving them than if you don't write them down. So that's one thing. Always mention or always make sure to write down your goals. So that's one part of the mindset. Make sure that you say to yourself, I will get into this company, I will get into this position, that will happen. And then of course, just be a positive person. It is actually a little bit more difficult to say than actually being positive, but you have to force yourself to be positive in certain situations. Because if you're always pessimistic, you won't reach anywhere.
Nice. So Shadi, from your perspective, working in the industry now, you're on your first co-op and internship, or what advantage have you seen having a background in nuclear engineering as opposed to your colleagues or coworkers having a different background? Is there any advantage that you may have in terms of understanding certain concepts or excelling at certain parts of the work?
Yeah, having a nuclear engineering background in the nuclear field, whether you go into either operations, maintenance, project management, consulting in general, and other fields, of course, within the nuclear field, within the nuclear field, having a nuclear engineering background is very helpful. So you do understand certain concepts whenever you're in meetings, whenever there's, let's say, a conference, or you hear somebody talking and they mention certain things that are only related to the nuclear field, you can always kind of understand what they say. A lot of people who do work with these companies, they had to learn it at a very kind of, I wouldn't say old age, but their background is not nuclear engineering, so they had to learn it after a while. But for us, we're lucky enough to be learning all of this at a young age, so once we get into the field, it would be much easier to understand the talks and the different concepts they talk about.
Nice. Could you tell me some top concepts that were easy for you to understand when you went to do your first internship, throughout your first internship? Like, what are some concepts that come out, pop out?
One of the concepts is actually SMR, or SMRs in general, small modular reactors. We know they're the hot topic of nuclear these days. So understanding the basics of SMR, or maybe like an overview of SMR, is an advantage. So whenever somebody's presenting about SMRs, you would already know some of the information, which is amazing. Another thing is power plant operations. We do take in school a course called nuclear plant operations. So that also helps you in understanding the CANDU system or the CANDU reactor, how it works, how it operates, etc. So it's always nice to, once you do have that background, it's always easier to understand certain concepts and certain presentations, if you wish.
If you were to go back in time, say to high school, where you had the choice of choosing any program, would you ever change your mind, or would you still choose nuclear engineering?
Well, I do get that question quite a lot of times, and the answer to that, I would definitely choose nuclear engineering over and over again. Now, the reason why, it's because if we do consider it here in Canada, again, as we mentioned earlier, it's the only program, or the only program of nuclear engineering that is offered here in Canada is at Ontariotech University. So it's always nice to be in a very unique field, right? As if, if you take it into in a different perspective, if you go to a different program, there's quite a lot of programs of the same nature that are offered at different institutions. While the nuclear engineering program, it's one of a kind here in Canada. So I would definitely want to be part of something unique, something that will drive change in Canada in the next few years.
That's awesome. That's awesome, and it's great to know that the timing is great, right? Because a few years ago, the situation was very different, right? A few years ago, a lot of these mainstream, nuclear wasn't really mainstream, right? And it's slowly progressing into becoming something that's mainstream. That's something that governments are realizing, especially the government of Canada, that we cannot do this without nuclear. We cannot get to net zero without nuclear energy. So what's the conversations like in the university? Are there a lot of kids in university at Ontariotech that are switching into the nuclear engineering program? That's another question that I have.
Yeah. So since 2018 until today, I've seen quite a lot of students who actually switched from different engineering disciplines to nuclear engineering, as well as from business actually. So people from business, wow, they did have an interest in nuclear energy, so they switched to the nuclear engineering program, which was fascinating because it's very kind of difficult to switch from a completely different background to nuclear, right? Especially from business, for example, because it doesn't involve anything related to physics and chemistry. So I did have these talks and these conversations with the people who actually transitioned from one program to the nuclear engineering program. And their reasoning is, again, it's because it's a very unique field, a very unique discipline of engineering, and they also want to be part of the change. So I believe everybody wants to be part of the change that will be driving Canada later on in the 2030s, 2040s, even to the 2050s. Everybody wants to have, to be a contributor to that change.
That's really interesting because when I was studying nuclear engineering, it was the other way around. A lot of kids would switch from nuclear engineering to many other programs, not because they were not interested, it was because the program itself is so challenging that it's very difficult to maintain a good standing, a good GPA, and even the concepts are so difficult to understand that a lot of folks would switch from nuclear engineering to another type of engineering or nuclear engineering to business, right? So it's interesting to note that the trend is now changing. What would you say is the average class size like, right? So when it comes to when you enrolled in the program, what was your class of 2019 looking like, and what are those class sizes looking like?
Well, it's definitely way smaller than other engineering disciplines. When we first started, we're taking kind of generic courses, math and physics, for example. Our classes used to be 200 to 300 students.
But these are like
exactly all engineering. Now, getting into nuclear specific courses, our class size on average was around 20 students.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, they would go anywhere between 20 to 40 students for each class. Some of them, actually one of the courses that I had last year, we only had 12 students in the class.
Oh my God.
Yes. So they are very, very small classes compared to other engineering discipline classes.
Which has its advantages as well.
Absolutely.
So tell me about some of those advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah. So in terms of one of the advantages is that you would have time to actually go and talk to a professor, to a teaching assistant. They would definitely help you with anything. They would actually take their time. Now, if a professor had, let's say, 100 students, of course the professor will still give them the time to answer them, but there's quite a lot of students in there, so it would be kind of challenging at some point. But with the nuclear engineering program and these small classes that we have, it would be much easier for the professor or to the teaching assistant to help students and take their time in explaining certain concepts, their homework, lab experiments, etc. So that's definitely one of the advantages that you have. And of course, another advantage is the professors that you have there and all the individuals that teach or even assist the professors at school. They are pretty experienced. They do have the knowledge in the nuclear industry, so you always have some sort of kind of a mentor relationship with your professors and everybody in that nuclear engineering program.
That's great. That's great. It's great to know that you have those mentors and folks that you can look up to and always go to for help. The next question I have is, Shadi, what's it like getting that first internship? What's it like? What's your experience like breaking into the industry? Is it similar to kind of the academic world where you were studying, or is it completely different? And which one do you prefer?
Okay, well, tricky question, honestly. You got me there. Now, let me start by saying it was definitely a good break from school because after spending some time studying, and we do take quite a lot of heavy courses within the program, you definitely need some sort of a physical and mental break, which when I got my internship, it offered me both of these, a mental and a physical break from school. Um, and now, in terms of my experience directly in an internship role, it is very, very essential in a way, getting that hands-on experience, visiting the reactor, dealing with people inside of the reactor, getting their perspective, how they do business there, how they complete all their tasks, how they do all the deliverables. Of course, you have to kind of worry about deadlines as well within a project. So kind of knowing and getting that hands-on experience and seeing how much pressure in a way you have to complete certain things, it is very important because at the end of the day, it's way different than school. At school, it's mostly theoretical with quite a bit of hands-on experience. In the field, it's completely different. It's pretty much all hands-on experience. You need to be very skillful in order to complete all the tasks. Now, of course, going to the last question you asked, I definitely prefer working rather than studying, but even after school, we will still be studying. There's always a new opportunity every day to learn. So that's pretty much school, but the school of life.
That's great. That's great. It's great to know that you're getting that well-deserved break because universities go, 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 but then workplace, it's a little bit more structured, right? A little bit more, bit of a different routine, right? So could you tell me a bit about that routine shift from, having to study 24/7 for your courses, exams, versus the work routine and that work-life balance?
That's a good question. Surprisingly, you would have more discipline when you actually get a co-op or an internship, right? Your work ethic changes, your time management skills change, because now you're trying to make most out of your day. So let's say standard 8-hour shift during your co-op. So you try as much as you can to learn throughout these 8 hours, get your meetings done, get your tasks done, and then after that, of course, you do have pretty much half of the day to complete whatever you want, like let's say working out, cooking, hanging out with friends, studying, etc., or doing research, not studying. So definitely, it is a little bit different, especially at school. You do have there's quite a lot of pressure on you that you need to complete a certain assignment, a project, etc., within a deadline, and you do have to collaborate on that with other students. So definitely that puts quite a lot of pressure on you, right, mentally. But at work, it's a little bit different. Everybody knows what they're doing. The deadlines are, of course, I would say there are very hard deadlines on certain things, but at the end of the day, everybody helps you. And of course, you as an intern, they're not expecting you to kind of, do everything on your own. Of course, they are aware that you don't know a lot about what you're doing, so that's why you're there, so they can teach you. In general, that changes the whole kind of routine that you have from school, and you change pretty much everything that you used to do at school. Everything changes later on once you do get a job as an intern.
That's great. What type of, if you don't mind sharing, what type of role are you doing? Is it more projects related? Is it more technical? And do you want to try out different roles in your undergrad with more internships?
Yeah, that's a good question. Now, my role right now is as a project management intern, right? But whether right now as a student or even later on in the future once I graduate, I'm the type of person who likes a challenge. I like to go into different things, different roles, different positions, explore different things, expand my knowledge on certain things within the field. From my own perspective, a lot of people think that they prefer staying within the same role for a longer time, resulting them in being a subject matter expert, for example. As for myself, I do see myself kind of moving from one role to another to gain that knowledge, the skill set, the experience, and of course getting to know new people. Because once you move from one position or role to the other, you're meeting new people there, and everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has a skill to teach you. So that's my take on that.
So tell me about, let's pull the thread on the people topic. In the working on site in the station, uh, what are some key lessons that you've learned that were not technical but have kind of changed your life trajectory in a sense, or have kind of made you a better professional?
Well, the work ethic, I would say. Everybody there has an excellent work ethic, highly focused individuals. I'm not going to say ideal in their work, because ideal is not realistic, but they do hold their perfection to a high kind of standard. They like everything to be organized, done on time. Their work ethic, as I mentioned, is amazing. So that's one of the things that I actually learned from them.
I know you're really involved with extracurriculars like Generation Atomic, NAYGN. Tell me your experiences getting involved in extracurricular activities and different professional organizations. So tell us about your experiences with that.
Yeah, so with NAYGN, which is North American Young Generation in Nuclear, it is pretty much an organization that focuses on advocating for nuclear energy in both the United States of America and Canada. They also focus on personal development and professional development as well. One of the things that I kind of participated in, it was a program for mentorship, which was pretty, I would say, amazing and very well organized, where they pair you with a mentor. Could be from Canada, could be from the States, it could be from any even background, educational background. And you just kind of hold with them weekly meetings. So it would be a person who would have similar interests as you, right? And the program goes for 12 weeks. They teach you certain things. You ask them questions, like you as a person who wants to learn from them, you have to be prepared always. Have a bunch of questions there ready, and you can ask them and you can have a conversation with them. Also, one of my recent things that I've done with NAYGN is volunteering with them at the Canadian Nuclear Association Conference, CNA 2023 in Ottawa. I was there as a representative, kind of introducing the company and what they do, etc. So that was also a pretty good volunteering experience. Generation Atomic, on the other hand, it is in the States actually, but they do have quite a lot of volunteers from Canada. Also, the group is about nuclear advocacy. They teach you how to advocate for nuclear, how to respond to certain myths about nuclear. For example, waste management, or a nuclear reactor can explode as a bomb, right? So these are very hot topics in the nuclear world. And a lot of people who are anti-nuclear, they try to kind of throw these questions at nuclear people. And what this group does is they try to help you tackle these questions with proof, of course. And other things that they teach you there is how to network in events. So that's pretty amazing. It's a pretty amazing skill that everybody, even if you're not like a nuclear engineering student, as long as you're a student or professional, make sure to always learn how to network properly. So when you go to an event or to a conference, there are certain things on how to, or techniques on how to approach people, how to get to know them, and how to maximize the benefit of knowing someone. And of course, there are other, for nuclear engineering students specifically in Canada, there are a lot of organizations that you can volunteer with. OCNI, which is an organization of Canadian nuclear industries, or for Canadian nuclear industries, they do have their youth council. So a lot of students and young professionals can also volunteer, apply, become a member there, and even apply to their events and volunteer as well.
That's great. That's phenomenal. Let me pull the thread a bit on the mentorship topic. What are some key principles that you've learned when it comes to mentorship? And even after that program, that mentorship program, how are you applying those to your internship, to your career trajectory right now?
Good question. So let me first start by saying it is very crucial to have a mentor, whether in nuclear, and if you're a nuclear engineering student or not, it is very important to have one, because the mentor has gone through what pretty much you're going through right now, right? So they teach you their life experiences, they teach you the mistakes they have made in the past, how they corrected them so you don't do the same mistake, right? And of course, on top of that, they provide you with the knowledge they have regarding certain topics. So for example, within when I completed the mentorship program, I also got paired, luckily, with a project manager from the USA. And it was very helpful to be paired with such a great individual because they taught me pretty much the fundamentals of project management, right? So they taught me how it's done, how to deal with individuals, how certain things work, what to do, what not to do. So once you learn all of these things, you can comfortably apply them in your role. And you do have that knowledge for the future, of course, in case you switch companies, you work with different set of people. It's always helpful to have that skill set.
Yeah, it's great, Shadi. So let's touch on that networking piece, right? So tell me about some of those networking fundamentals that you learned from Generation Atomic or attending these conferences, and how important is that for career success?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Now, networking, again, it's very, very important for someone's success, for your success in particular, right? So you have to kind of start making a lot of relations with superiors at work, with your professors, with different students, and even on social media. Try to reach out to people, again, as we mentioned earlier, to hiring managers, to people who work within a company. Anybody within that space will definitely be able to help you. Now, when you're approaching someone, of course, always be respectful. Always be mindful of their time. Everyone's time is precious. Nobody wants anybody to waste their time, of course. So always be mindful of someone's time when you're introducing yourself. And whenever you introduce yourself, when you walk in or you walk up to someone and you introduce yourself, always be very concise and direct to the point. So make sure to always practice. There's quite a lot of resources on the web that can help you have some sort of a pitch statement, right? Where you can actually reach, whenever you're talking to someone face to face, you can reach out to them within that 1 or 2 line sentence, and it introduces you fully, what you do, for example, what you study, your first and last name, and all of that. But always you have to make sure that you leave a great impression on the person that you're having a conversation with, right? Also, one of the things that I learned about networking is let's say, for example, you're visiting a conference and you see one of the speakers that you're interested in getting to know more and getting their input and feedback and whatever you're working on from their experience. It's always good to do a little bit of research about the speaker or that guest, right? Because once you walk up to them and you're introducing yourself, there is something that you can actually mention about what they have done. So for example, I come to you, I introduce myself, and then, for example, what's next? Nothing, right? But now if we take another scenario, I introduce myself and I'm like, hey, Osama, I've seen your YouTube channel, and you explained this point, let's say video about something, and I have certain questions about that. So the fact that I brought up the YouTube statement to Osama, and that's something he's interested in, he's working on it, that will actually make Osama more prone to help me. Osama will be like, oh, this person watches my video, so let me help you with that, right?
You subscribe to my channel.
Of course. So yeah, so whenever you mention something, like let's say somebody achieved something and you mention that achievement to that person, or that you're impressed with their career path or something they have done in the past based on the research that you've done, and of course utilize social media for that, or ask people that you know that would know that individual, that would be even better, because at that point that's how you basically leave a good impression on that person. So this is one of the best tips that I actually learned with my time at Generation Atomic, and I applied it when visiting conferences.
That's a great tip. It's a great tip to actually give importance to the other person and genuinely develop that first connection, right? So, I think that's a great tip to take away. Also, another question I have, Shadi, is overall, when it comes to students that are successful in the nuclear engineering program that you've seen in terms of trends, what is it that leads to their success? Is it the kids that are getting those 4.3 GPAs that are going out into the industry and becoming very successful, or is it students that are diversifying their experiences somehow through extracurriculars or through self-development?
No, good. That's a great question. Now, balance is the best in everything, right? So if you do have a complete GPA, 4.3 out of 4.3, that's great for you, right? But when you're getting into the nuclear industry, and as well as any other industry in the world, you need to have a balance. So you need to be book smart, and also you need to have certain skills that you develop. So doing activities that are outside of school, for example, going out with your friends, meeting people, going out to conferences, even if it's not related to whatever you're studying, but just going there, showing yourself, meeting people, you will learn different skills that will definitely help you whenever you get a job or even in your internship, right? So you need to have certain good communication skills, which is very helpful if you go out, meet people, socialize. That's one of the best things that you need to do, is socialize with people. Even if you're socializing with people that are not that do not have the same interests as you, still socialize with them. Because as we mentioned, everybody has something to teach you, right? Whether they're nuclear, mechanical, business background, medical background, everybody will have something to teach you, and you'll be surprised. And all of these skills that you learn from all these different people, you can just kind of collect them and then start utilizing them once you graduate and use them in your future.
That's great. That's great. Well, this was a great conversation, Shadi. I really enjoyed it, learning about your experiences in the Nuclear Engineering Undergrad program, giving us a bit of a taste as to what the future holds for the nuclear engineering program and for nuclear engineering students that are interested in studying this field. Is there any other last things that you'd like to share with folks listening in?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I learned about being a nuclear engineering student is you need to have really good skills, and most importantly, discipline. You need to be a disciplined individual. Starts with the very small tasks, the daily tasks that you do, starting, let's say, from waking up in the morning, doing your bed, eating breakfast, working out, etc. All of these daily tasks that you do, if you're disciplined in doing them, they will build quite a lot of skills within you that you can later on use and utilize once you graduate, and even when continuing your studies. Second, whenever in doubt, always reach out to people. Reach out to your professors, reach out to experts. Let's say if you're interested in nuclear, reach out to people who are actually workers in the nuclear field. They will definitely help you with that. And of course, use the web, utilize the web. Any questions that you have regarding nuclear, read books about it, read articles, go on websites. There's quite a lot of tons of resources out there that can be helpful for you.
Advice, always a pleasure chatting with you, and it's always incredible to connect with students like Shadi who are young leaders in the industry, and who are young leaders in the industry and have really are trailblazers for other engineering students to really look up to and emulate. So really appreciate you coming on this podcast and this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.